Ladies and gentlemen, all praise and thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Without him, none of us can do anything. And Jesus came to Capernaum, and being in the house in Capernaum, he asked his disciples, "What is it that you dispute among yourselves on the way here?" But they were quiet, because they had disputed among themselves who should be the greatest. And he sat down and called the 12 and said unto them, "If any man desires to be first, the same shall be last of all, and servant of all." And he took a child and set him in the midst of them, and when he had taken him in his arms, he said unto them, "Whosoever shall receive one of such children in my name, you receive me, and whosoever shall receive me receives him that sends me." I thought to read this to you so that you would know that greatness is not in a person, but greatness is in what a person does for others. It's a paradigm shift. Let's get into boxing. Floyd Mayweather Jr TBE. I know some of you don't like that I do this, and I do a couple other videos on Floyd Mayweather Jr. I'm sorry, but I will be bringing facts. Some of you think that I'm a fanboy of Floyd Mayweather Jr. I'm sorry, I'll still be bringing facts. Some of you believe that I'm distorted in my opinion of Floyd Mayweather Jr. I'm sorry, I'll still be dropping gems, and I'll be dropping fact after fact after fact. I don't like Floyd Mayweather Jr. more than any other fighter. Do I like him? Absolutely. But I drop these videos for one reason. The hypocrisy of people will be exposed, and the haters will be shown up to be haters because you hate without a cause. Now, I've heard all kinds of silly statements about Floyd Mayweather because people don't like him. But they don't know why they don't like him, and I already highlighted videos why they don't like him. Some of them say he's a coon, he's a cheater, IV, etc., etc., etc. I've already addressed all those things. See, this ain't the first time that people have denigrated a black fighter who has been at the peak of the game. Let me let you in a little secret. Muhammad Ali, while he was Cassius Clay, and then he was Muhammad Ali for a short bit, when he was undefeated, was hated. When he would go into the ring to fight, they would say, "Beat that nigga. I want to see that nigga lose." Guess what? We're so many years later, and the same thing's still playing out. I remember when Sugar Ray Leonard was undefeated. The guy was the golden child of America. He did no wrong. And there was a hate towards him until Roberto Duran beat him. Then America was willing to fully embrace the black fighter. Leonard was flashy, but he wasn't outspoken. Muhammad Ali was flashy, loud. He talked the talk, baby. They didn't like that in black people. And Ali existed in a time when there was still racial segregation. You couldn't go into a white bar. You couldn't go into a white club. You couldn't even use a white restroom. And for those of you who say, "Oh no, it has nothing to do with race. Mayweather's just offensive if he was white," we would be saying the same. Well, we got Conor McGregor, baby. We got Conor McGregor. He using the same model as Floyd Mayweather. He don't get that kind of hate by the media. Sugar Ray Leonard beat his wife. Sugar Ray Robinson beat his wife. But Floyd Mayweather, he's an abuser. And we don't even have full evidence that he's an abuser of the lady now exists in LA and the children he has. The hypocrisy of people, man. So I'm here to expose it for what it is. We know he's hated, and we know why. And don't be telling me, oh, it ain't about color. Well, why is Andre Ward and Guillermo Rigondeaux considered boring fighters? How is that possible? But Vasily Lomachenko, he ain't boring. Rigo be knocking out everybody, like knocking out the kitchen sink. But he's boring. He's avoided by fighters, but he's boring. But Vasily Lomachenko, they got nothing but raves. The hypocrisy of some people. Oh, I'm not saying that I'm pro-black on everything. No, 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 no. I call a spade when it's a spade. But the hypocrisy of some people. We know it's racism. We know it. Y'all can sugarcoat it how much you want. It's racism. And the sad irony is that Floyd Mayweather sometimes participates in that by calling Andre Ward a guy who lost a fight, and he's entitled to his opinion, but you go overboard when you say Virgil Hunter ain't a good trainer. You gonna participate in this? You gonna hate on another black fighter and his trainer? Like, really? Yeah, I tell you like it is. I tell you the truth. I ain't here to try and lie to you. So that's why I do Floyd Mayweather TBE. Because he is the best ever. And you guys know this. All you haters out there too, you know this. That's why you got to pull up things about his domestic abuse and IV and all kinds of crazy shit that ain't true. Because to get to the truth of the situation, I'm not saying that Floyd... I pretty much think he didn't hit Josie Harris. But what I do know is, I'm pretty sure he hit some woman in his career. Absolutely. He's got a record that he hit some. There was gunplay and all kinds of crazy things too. Not with him necessarily, with the woman, but he hit some woman. I'm pretty sure about that. But my point anyway is this. All the other prominent boxers also hit people. Hit women. From Sugar Ray Leonard to Sugar Ray Robinson. They either hit women or they womanized. A lot of them are guilty of that. But what do you expect from a boxer? Somebody who's always engaged in violence. What do you expect? That's why I say it's hypocritical. And you know what's the funny thing? If you're going to look at the people who are really high up in arms about, oh, he's a woman abuser. Whenever a woman is talking or participating in the sport of boxing, these guys have the worst, most masochistic, sexist things to say. Oh, why don't you go in the kitchen and cook or something? You would see a response like that and I'd be like, this motherfucker. Some of the most sexist, masochistic people you ever met. But they want to, these hypocrites want to come and talk about Floyd Mayweather as an abuser. I'm just saying. So yeah, the best of our era has to be torn down. And Muhammad Ali always said that they seem to value you when you're gone. They rain praise on Muhammad Ali, but you know when? At the end of his career. As his career was winding down. That's when people really started to have some sort of praise for Muhammad Ali. In the beginning of his career and in the middle of his career, until he lost to Joe Frazier, hell of a lot of people didn't like him. And anybody saying, oh, I used to like Muhammad Ali as Cassius Clay, they few that telling the truth. So history repeats itself. And I'm out here to leave for posterity on YouTube the hypocrisy of people. That's why I keep on hitting you guys with facts. Let's go into this fact now. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is his amateur career. Let's go into it. So, Floyd Mayweather Jr. had an amateur career of 90 fights. Of the 90 fights, he lost 6, won 84 of them. That's a really remarkable record. But that's not the thing that I want to talk about. It's really the opponents of Floyd Mayweather in the amateurs that I thought were worth the while to talk about. And I will just bring to your attention Antonio Tarver versus Roy Jones Jr. Antonio Tarver beat Roy Jones Jr. in the amateurs, and it actually translated into the pros, where he won 2 out of the 3 bouts. And just because people want to make excuses, oh, Roy Jones Jr., you know what? He came down from heavyweight. He shouldn't have done that. That's why he was beaten by Antonio Tarver. To show that it wasn't a fluke, they had a 3rd fight, and Antonio Tarver again beat Roy Jones Jr. Just saying. All right, now let's get into Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s amateur career. All right. So 84-6 was his amateur record. He went into his first National Golden Gloves at the age of 16. It was at light flyweight, which is 105 pounds is the maximum you can be. You know, you come in 96 pounds, 95 pounds, it's all good. And he faced the following opponents: Salvador Casillas, Dominic Fillane, Willie Seen, Juan Azuris, and Eric Morrell. Now, Eric Morrell had won a couple National Golden Gloves as well at light flyweight. And Floyd was able to beat all of them and win the 1993 National Golden Gloves at the age of 16. All of these guys are big grown guys when they face Floyd. But one name really stands out, and the name is Eric Morrell. Eric Morrell. Eric Morrell, as you can see here, he also debuted around the same time as Floyd Mayweather Jr., but he debuted at flyweight because he was a small guy. 5'6.5", 70-inch reach. And Eric Morrell went on in the pros to translate that into becoming the WBA World Flyweight Champion. In fact, he won the flyweight title, and he defended it successfully 5 times before losing to Lorenzo Parra. So this amateur, who was Eric Morrell, he actually turned out not only to be a good amateur champion and a great amateur background, but he also turned out to be light flyweight champion. Alright. Now in 1994 National Golden Gloves, again Floyd Mayweather won that, and he beat Isidro Garcia. Now Isidro Garcia, as you can see right here, he also went on to become a champion. And he was the WBO flyweight champion. He fought Jose Lopez for the vacant WBO World Flyweight title. He beat him, and he went on to defend it successfully against Jose Rafael Sosa before losing it to Fernando Montiel, the famous Fernando Montiel. Okay? He would be a contender for the World Flyweight title. One more time, he'd lose to Eric Morrell, the same guy we just talked about here. And after doing so, he would go on to face Abner Maris, lose to him for the bantamweight title. He would go all the way up to super flyweight, face Jorge Arce, and he would lose to him as well. So he also turned out to be a champion in the pros, and this is very interesting. Now I just want to say one more thing about Eric Morrell, because he also lost to a very interesting fighter in Martin Castillo when he tried to go up to super flyweight and win a title. He moved all the way up to super bantamweight, and he also faced Abner Maris and Leo Santa Cruz. That was in 2012. He faced both of them. Okay, but I just want to make note of the name Martin Castillo, because you'll see that name also in the amateurs. Floyd also faced that fighter. So anyway, he beat Isidro Garcia. Then he faced Julian Stevens, Juan Anzuris again, Nick Molinari, and Linton Nichols. In 1994, he goes on to face 2 people. He faces Nick Molinari again, but this time he loses to a gentleman named Anulfo Bravo. Okay, so that's the first guy he actually lost to in the amateurs. He gave him his first loss. And then he lost to Martin Castillo in the 1994 U.S. versus Mexico dual meet in Las Vegas, Nevada. And Martin Castillo, remember, he beat Eric Molinares, I think it is. What's his name? Molinares? Morrell. Eric Morrell. So remember, Martin Castillo beat Eric Morrell. I believe that was at super flyweight. So Martin Castillo, which we see here, he went on to become the super flyweight champion. Okay. He was the interim WBA super flyweight champion. He was promoted to WBA super flyweight champion, beating Alexander Munoz. Then he beat Eric Morel here, the same guy who was the flyweight champion. And he went on to defend this title 1, 2, 3 times before he lost to Nobuo Nashiro, okay, who knocked him out. He would try and get the title back, or a title back, against Fernando Montiel, who was a great champion, and he would lose to him as well as Jorge Arce. So again, another amateur who actually became a world champion. Again, it was a good talent out there. Floyd lost to him, Martin Castillo, in 1994. Okay, and then he lost some points to Carlos Navarro, who came out to be actually a good pro contender. Okay, and that was in the Pan Am Games. And then he lost to Juan Carlos Ramirez, who again was a good contender when he went into the pros. And this was in the United States versus Mexico dual meet in Fort Huachuca, Sierra Vista, Arizona. Okay. He beat another fighter from Romania and another one from Algeria. And then he went into the United States Amateur Featherweight Championships, and he was able to beat a fighter named Augie Sanchez the first time he faced. And Augie Sanchez was a really outstanding fighter in the amateurs. Okay. Now after doing that, he would again participate in some other championships here. Ernest Rodriguez, Shavon Price, Elian Gilbert. This is all in featherweight. So he moves up to featherweight. He faces Carlos Navarro again. This time he beats him. Camilo Ramos. And then in the Moscow, Russia Trigon series, he loses in the opening round to Trigon Ozlian. Okay, this is his other defeat. Then he goes into the National Golden Gloves featherweight division. So he was in super featherweight. He was in flyweight. He was light flyweight, and then featherweight. Okay, so he's a featherweight now. Okay, so he settles off at featherweight. He faces off against Jose Hernandez. He beats him. Hector Cruz, Chad, I don't know what to pronounce his name, Adriel, looked like Pen Benito, and then Martin O'Malley. Martin O'Malley was slightly taller than him, slightly longer than him. He gets into the Olympic trials. He defeats William Jenkins, James Baker, and he loses to Augie Sanchez. Okay, it was a close fight. He loses to him, and then he beats Carlos Navarro. So he goes and rematches Augie Sanchez in the box-off, and he defeats Augie Sanchez 2 more times to get the spot. All right. Now after that, so actually he loses to Augie Sanchez once. So the 6 losses, you can see where they come from. Then he goes into the Olympics, and he defeats Kazakhstanian. Then he defeats an Armenian, and then he defeats Lorenzo Aragon. Now Lorenzo Aragon is one of the most outstanding Cuban boxers in the history of Cuban amateur fighting. He beat Lorenzo Aragon, very close decision, 12-11, and got off to a really great start. And in the semifinals, he was robbed. They said he lost to Seferin Todorev, but there's no way he lost to that guy. You can go and watch the fight, see for yourself. It's actually on YouTube. Okay, there's no way he lost to that guy, but it's what it is. Now, this guy, he didn't really accomplish much, which is why we know he shouldn't have really lost to this guy. He never even was a top contender, none of that. But Lorenzo Aragon, on the other hand, that is a name that it's a fantastic name. Now, he never went into the pros, but in his amateur career, this guy beat names such as Joel Casamayor, okay, who was 2-divisional world champion, okay, Robbie Peden, Vyacheslav Shenchenko, who became later a champion at super lightweight, Erislandy Lara, all right, who is currently the super champion for the WBA super welterweight division, Andre Berto, who's 2-time world champion at welterweight. Okay, so it's just really incredible. The only person he never really got under his belt was Floyd Mayweather. He beat everybody else. Vanes Martirosyan, as you can see here, he beat him too. He was really, 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 really good. Okay. Now I mentioned all of these amateur names. I really wish that Lorenzo Aragon, you know, like Guillermo Rigondeaux and like Erislandy Lara, he could have gotten to fight in the pros in the United States, but I guess he'd have to defect from Cuba to do that. But suffice it to say that when you look at these names, these are just remarkable names that Floyd Mayweather Jr. beat. I mean, Lorenzo Aragon got names, baby. He was something, and Floyd beat him. Okay, so that when you look at Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s amateur career, right, and the level of fighters that he faced and beat, you have to understand why. Again, you have to look at his pedigree, how outstanding he was as a boxer, and you got to give him TBE. You just got to give him, because this is just another point you add to all of the other points we just mentioned before. On that note, you guys have a great one.